Hope your week is going well. I'm Rob Akampora here at the Shared Universe Studios on the Jersey Shore. This is the A Game, always finding some interesting people. My thanks to Ray Roldan, who introduced me indirectly to this gentleman with a lot of information. Some of it I knew, and some of it, admittedly, did not know. I did know that he wrote Hit Me With Your Best Shot for Pat Benatar. Did not know he had roots with so many other artists that he has written for. Has a new EP that is out today, which we're going to talk about, that includes a re-recording of a song. It's got a bit of a story behind it. I hope he'll dive into us with this. Eddie Schwartz, thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, Rob. Great to be here.
Absolutely. You're in Nashville, I imagine. And by the way, impressive look behind you with some platinum records, I believe, as I'm noticing.
It's all done with Gen AI. It's I'm getting good at the prompts now,
Yeah, it definitely helps.
I put in young rock star for the visual, and this is what came up. I don't know.
Well done, my friend. Living in Nashville, came from Canada. I want to bring out a point that I think you can testify to, because I've always been a fan of Canadian radio because of something called Canadian content, which gave the opportunity for like every 10 songs to be on the radio, 3 would have to fit the Canadian content rule, meaning the artist, the singer, the songwriter, and you as a songwriter kind of played into that. And obviously it gave you a leg up early on in your career, giving you a chance to be on the radio and getting some songs out there at the beginning of your beginning, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Before that, Canada's a small country next to a very large country.
True.
And you couldn't get, if you were a Canadian writer, artist, if your name wasn't Gordon Lightfoot, I should say that.
In the 70s, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, there was a couple of people. Gordy was one of them, but it was very, very hard. So yeah, I mean, it still meant that something like 65% of the music was either from the UK or from the States, but it meant that there was that 30, 33 or whatever, 35% that could be Canadians. And I mean, it was very helpful. I mean, I actually could start to make a living because I started getting songs played on Canadian radio first.
Yeah, that's definitely a big plus. And we know, fast forward to 2025 and having artists try to make a living, there are many ways to do it nowadays. And we both know the record labels, they help, but they're not necessary to try to carve out a living as a singer-songwriter with all the outlets that we have to get the music out there. I would imagine in a weird way, you look at it and go, if we had some of this back then, it would have been a game changer even back in the 70s, 80s, or 90s.
Yeah, I mean the ways that you can reach your audience now, as you're saying, Rob, is they're amazing.
Yeah.
But that's to me the silver lining. The problem is they don't pay anything, or they pay very, very little. And I'm sure I'm not the first person on the show.
No, you're not the first, but I don't think people really understand that. I still think that people think, "Oh my God, you're a songwriter. Oh my God, you're a rock singer. You must have money." And in the case of it, and I think you could defend this, it's like there's that upper echelon 10% that yes, they're doing very, very well. They have great lives and they have a lot of money. The other 90% are just happy to do the art that they're doing and to continue to do the art, but wish they were making more money doing their art.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, look I was very fortunate. People say you got lucky. Well, I got lucky about when I was born.
Amen.
Because you could make a living. You could, if you sold, you got on the radio, you got some money, and you sold. I mean, records paid. We thought it wasn't a lot of money back in the day. We're only getting 4 cents a song.
Something like that, yeah, if I remember correctly, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, publisher would get 4, like, for example, if you're a songwriter, maybe 8 or 9 cents. You'd split it with your publisher. So, but the thing is, if that meant if you sold 1 million records, you've made $35,000-$40,000, which that was a living. I could live for a couple of years on that back in the day. Now I think, if I get 1 million streams, I think I can probably buy a pizza.
And I think again,
I might be able to get the extra toppings, maybe
a little anchovy, a little bit of pepperoni on there. But I think that's the other misconception that people think. Oh my God, they see somebody's got so many hits and so many streams, they think they must be doing so well. And I guess that's in a weird way. That's why I wanted to talk to you as a songwriter and as a musician to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and kind of let people know it's like, look, it may look good on paper, but it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you know what? I still gotta, hustle for my living and I don't mind doing it, but you just wish there was a little bit more gravy on this for sure.
Yeah, well, if you do this for the money, you're crazy anyway. I mean, let's
Amen.
face it.
Well,
I
even
mean,
on my if somebody's been in radio, I can tell you, yeah, if I was doing this for the money, oh, I'm in a lot of trouble. My God.
no, you got to do this because you can't do anything else. You just love it so much, and
Right.
it's just part of who you are. And if you're doing it for the money, good luck. Maybe you'll get there. Maybe it's, you need the billions of
Mhm.
streams, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You said 10%. I don't know if it's 10%. I don't know if it's 1%. But at any rate, if you get the billions of streams, yeah, you can do okay. But boy, that's a steep hill to climb, and very,
Really.
very few people get there.
I mean, think about when you reach that first part of your success, and suddenly here's Pat Benatar recording your song "Hit Me with Your Best Shot." And when you go back to it, there has to be that moment where you just sat there. Okay, life's about to change a little bit. And do you remember exactly where that moment was when that happened?
I was so green behind the ears that I had no clue. I mean, I still have no clue, to be honest with you, but um, that's kind of my signature, I think. I have no clue, but I won't say I stumbled into it because, like I said, I just something I had to do and I was dedicated to doing.
There you go.
By the time Pat did Hit Me, it was 2 years. I'd written it in '78, like mid '78. I finished it,
Right.
and now we're 1980, 81 when I think it became a single, maybe the winter of '81, and it's kind of like if you're a songwriter, it's like the song you're writing that day or
Yeah.
that month. It's
Mhm.
not. So it was like, wow. So, and the first time I heard it was, nobody told me the songwriter is always the last person to know everything. So my publisher might have mentioned it was going to be a single, but,
Okay.
again, kind of in one ear and out the other. Like, what does that mean? I'd never
Sure.
had anything like that before, so I didn't know what to expect. And I heard it, first nice day in Toronto, where I was, born and raised. And it was a spring day, and I was walking up Yonge Street, which is the main drag, and I heard it coming out of a hairstylist. Heard this song coming out
Right.
of a hairstylist, and I went, "Gee, that sounds familiar. I wonder what that song is." And I went, "Oh, wait, it's mine."
That's a-
And that was a kind of I think I started drooling. I was standing in the doorway because the door was open because, like I said, it was the first nice spring day. Had the doors open, and I was standing there drooling, listening to it, and they called the cops on me because they thought, who's this vagrant in our doorway? And cops came, tapped me on the shoulder, and this song was just ending, and said, "Come on, buddy, move along." And I said, "Wait a sec, I'm listening to my song. This is a song I wrote." And the guy, "Yeah, sure it is, sure it is." Get
Hey,
going.
hold on
So,
one second. I'm going to ask you to say that last part again because I think the internet was deciding to f with us for a little bit. So hold on
oh,
one second.
sorry.
No problem. I think just talk a little bit and pick it. There you go. It's starting to reset itself a little bit. If you can pick up where you were talking about as you were coming out and explain that one more time because we were just breaking up a little bit.
Well, so from the first time I heard "Hit Me with Your Best Shot," uh, and I didn't know it was going to be life changing. I was walking up Yonge Street, which is Toronto's main drag. It was the first nice spring day, probably early 1981, and it was just the single on the record at the time, Pat
Yeah.
Benatar's "Crimes of Passion," and heard it coming out of a hairstylist. The doors were open because it was a nice day, and I
Yeah.
stood in the doorway, went into a trance. I think I don't remember. I think I was drooling, and heard it for the first time, and as the song came to an end, I got a tap on my shoulder, and it was two cops standing behind me.
Whoa.
"Come on, buddy, tell your story walking." They thought I was, a vagrant or drunk or something, and
Right. Right.
I went, I just heard my song for the first time on the radio, and they went, "Get out of here! What are you talking about?"
They don't believe you, of course.
Of course not.
Jeez.
So that's the first time. So yeah, I mean, it certainly did change my life, Rob. I mean, obviously, it was the doors. The doors flew open in more than just metaphorically. It
Yeah.
changed my life, and all of a sudden, all the people who said, "Nah, he can't write songs," were kind of knocking on my door for songs, which
Yeah.
was
I
very,
mean,
very helpful.
Oh, has to be, and you look at it 45 years later, one of the biggest rock songs of the 1980s was "Hit Me With Your Best Shot." I mean, so you've got that, as far as history, and then throughout the 80s, there was a couple other moments. We were talking about this before he even came on because I'm a huge fan of Paul Carrack. I did not, honestly, and I apologize, did not know you were the writer of "Don't Shed a Tear," and at that point, here's Paul, has had a hit with Squeeze, has had a hit with Ace in the 70s, Mike and the Mechanics. He's one of the rare individuals to have had 4 hit singles in 4 different ways, 3 bands and, solo work with him. So you come in to this situation with Paul and I'm sure obviously you're very familiar with everything that he's done. And I would think here's a guy that can pretty much do anything. He could probably sing anything. So as he's creating this album, was there any idea that it was like, okay, he's going to use my material? Well,
Thought I died and went to heaven. I was like
Amen.
you. I was a massive, massive Paul Carrack fan. He's the singer. He's the keyboard player. I mean,
Well
all
said,
of those things.
Mhm.
If you're into popular music from the mid 1970s onward, Paul Carrack's got to be right up there with anybody and everybody.
Agreed.
The greats. And is so versatile and so talented that he could fit into all those incredible acts.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, and sang and played on their biggest records for each
Yeah.
one of those bands, that's quite an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
So yeah, when I found out that he was doing "Don't Shed a Tear," I mean, it's still probably my favorite. And with all due respect to everybody else who's cut my songs, because
Sure.
I'm very, very, very fortunate to have some incredible people, recorded, sung my songs. But Paul, that was a great moment when I found out about that. And I met him shortly thereafter. He was playing, I believe it was Mike and the Mechanics. And I
Mhm.
got to go backstage. I had the One Good Reason album.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to him as a fan. And maybe Paul will sign your copy of the album. So I walked up and said, "Mr. Carrack, would you mind, please signing this record? I'm a big fan." And he said, "Who should I sign it to?" And I said, "Eddie Schwartz." And he looked up at me and said, "You bastard." That was the first thing he said to me. And I was like, I think I literally jumped back a step because that's not what I expected. Because "Don't Shed a Tear" was in the top 10 at that
Yeah,
moment in
exactly.
time.
It peaked at number 9. I remember that. Yeah.
So, and he was joking. He was like, he was giving me a hard time because I wrote a song that he really liked and recorded, and I think he wished he wrote it. So, and I get that.
Yeah, I mean, just to break it down for people who don't know, if you were to take Ace's How Long, take Squeeze's Tempted, take, say, The Living Years from Mike and the Mechanics, and the song you wrote, Don't Shed a Tear, 4 very distinctively different songs, 4 differently distinctive rhythms. And I think that makes, to defend our point about what Paul could do as a singer, just shows you the depth that he can bring, that he can go so many different directions, whether it's a little softer, a little poppier, a little mid-tempo, however you want to do it, he could do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, "Don't Shed a Tear" is not an easy song to sing. I
I didn't
mean,
think it would be, yeah, because I've
yeah,
heard it so many times. You're right. You're right.
it's the bridges. It gets way up there, and he makes it all sound easy.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
that's the other thing when you think about the chorus and just the way the chorus is layered, and all of a sudden, my life won't end without, and then he's got to hit the higher end without you, and that couldn't have been easy but it also shows you the range he's got as a singer.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of kicking myself. I sometimes, I sort of noodle around and come up with these melodies, and then you go, who on earth is going to be able to sing this?
Right.
And and guess what? Well, there's a guy who can do it, and his name is Paul Carrack.
Paul Carrack, yeah. I mean, and again, I'm glad to hear that you are just so jazzed as I was as a fan of Paul's work to see the profits, so to speak, come from him having a top 10 song with your writing. I mean, just a great combination.
Well, thank you for that. And he's still out there. I know he's still working.
Yeah,
He put out sort of a greatest hits record with with a lot of those songs, including "Don't Shed a Tear." It just
nice,
came out a
nice.
couple of months ago. So, and we talk once in a while, but um, yeah, he lives in England and I live here in Nashville, so I don't get to see him too often.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I could see you guys definitely hanging out a little more if you could. That is for sure. Eddie's resume, he's worked with so many great artists. There's one more I'm going to mention. It's the other top 10 hit. But what makes that interesting is that when we look back on the Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald having stepped away from the band, I don't think anybody was really thinking that the Doobies were going to have a quote unquote comeback. Your song, The Doctor, that you wrote, becomes the comeback, and it becomes the #1 rock song, goes top 10, and everybody starts. And I remember that whole time, and everybody's looking at it going, the Doobies are back. Oh my God. Because I honestly don't think many people thought they could make it without Michael at that point in time. I mean, so when your song hits them, I mean, do you go in saying, okay, I'm glad they're doing it, but I'm not sure how this is going to go? Is there ever a doubt feeling when an artist takes on one of your songs? And I mean that sincerely. I'm not meaning as a diss, because obviously when you look back on that point, it's like, we all love the Doobies, but we're not sure they're ever going to have another hit again.
I'm laughing, Rob, because you sort of hit the nail on the head. I mean, I studied for that gig. I didn't expect to get the, I ended up producing half the record with my friend Charlie Midnight. We co-produced half the record, and somebody stepped in for the other half. But yeah, it was a very tough gig in that Tom came back in the band, Tom Johnson, after Michael had been the focus of the band for a number of years.
Right.
And like everybody, I loved the Michael McDonald Doobie Brothers. I thought,
sure, this
is amazing stuff. And Tom came back, and it was like, okay, how do we make this work? Because it was a complicated situation with the band, with the personnel. There'd been a lot of different people had come through the band.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Simmons, of course, had been there the whole time, and a few other the folks. Tyran Porter, I think the bass player, had been there throughout. But there was a very kind of loose kind of group of people, various other people, Skunk Baxter and others. So how's this going to work? And what kind of, is Tommy, back where he needs to be to front this band? So it was a challenge. And I wasn't really, although, I love China Grove and I loved a lot of the Tommy songs, I didn't really feel like that was the way I wrote. So I listened to those records over and over and over and over again, the Tom Johnson movies. And I just immersed myself for weeks before the project and listening to his stuff day and night, to just try to, get into his head and try to write songs the way he writes. And now that's not usually how I work at all. I just, I do what I think is right and follow my own, my own path. But that was the gig. And I thought, well, let's see what we can do with this. And Tommy contributed to the song. I didn't write it by myself, and Charlie weighed in too. So it was a team effort, and lo and behold, we survived. It was tough. It was a tough project.
Yeah, because you were talking about the fact you're also involved in the production of it. So did all that studying, per se, really help in laying the tracks down, having that knowledge and kind of going, okay, now that I've studied everything about the Doobie Brothers, you got them in the studio and you kind of say, all right, I think I know where there's no guarantee this is going to work, but I have a plan, so to speak. Let's see if we can execute the plan.
Yeah. Well, there's some general said that every plan for a battle, is great until the first shot is fired. So something along those lines. I mean, it was the thing is, I think, on the writing side, to me, the writing side's always kind of the most important, because that is your game plan. The song is what you're going to build the whole thing around. So I thought with the Doctor we had something that we could work with, and get it. And remember, I had the original guys back in the band, so they did what they do, and they're great musicians, and so that took us a long way towards getting that old, that original Doobie Brothers sound going again. On the other side of the equation, and why it was so challenging, because they hadn't played together now in years and years and years.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And now they're thrown into a situation where, the pressure's on. We're paying, studios are cost a fortune back in those days. That's on me as the producer. Mm-hmm. So, and I've got to get these guys, there's some herding the cats, kind of get them back into the headspace and get them working together as a band.
Right.
So it wasn't an easy project, but I think we got to where we had to get to. So was,
No doubt.
but I did half the record. I was exhausted after doing half the record. It was fine with me that I only did half because it was like, okay, somebody else help, take
Right.
over.
You don't, and the surface, I would look at it and say, oh, it must have been fun because, like, hey, everybody's getting back together. We're having this fun thing. And then you get into what you're talking about. But you're also, and this is where I say some people don't realize it, there's still the ego factor. There's still, like you said, we haven't played together in years. How is this going to sound? And you have to be the quarterback, for lack of a better term, on this team to say, okay, you're going to go this way. You're going to go that way. You guys know how to do this. So let's get this done.
Yeah. And, and sometimes they listen to the producer and sometimes they don't. So, but I mean, I say that with all due respect there, it was an honor to work with those guys.
Yeah.
And, they're human beings and they had their own history that, we had to work through. And, but it all worked out, great. And it was a great experience. I mean, I really hadn't spent any time in Northern California.
Oh, wow.
I've been an East Coast kind of guy my whole life. My mother's from New York.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
yeah, Toronto and New York is where I basically grew up, those two places. So, I ended up spending 6 months in the San Francisco, in the Bay Area. And that's a whole other great music scene, which I got to hang out in.
Really true.
And,
Yeah.
And learn about that and hang out with musicians there. So that was very cool too.
Good stuff. Great stories from Eddie Schwartz here on the A Game. His new album EP is out today, as a matter of fact. Ming, I think you've got the photo. I think it's number 3. I think it is the album cover. Not that one. Go up corner right. That may be it. There it is. Film School from Eddie Schwartz. What's interesting about this EP is that you took an old song and decided to re-record the song. But the more I read about Special Girl, there's an interesting story behind that song, knowing that it was a hit for you in Canada, but yet in the United States. And it was fascinating read to me. So I want to share this. This was a song that the label you were on decides, if I got this right, they didn't find it commercially acceptable. So they don't release it in the United States. America releases it, actually becomes a hit. And then it becomes a battle, which I'm glad you fought on. But at the same token, I can't even imagine. In one sense, it's like there's got to be a love-hate relationship with the song because it's like, yeah, it's a special song to you. You wrote it, you created it, but knowing the drama that you had to went through, not your fault. Does that leave kind of that bad taste and kind of go, you know what? Maybe if I re-record this, it could be cathartic and it could feel better about it, for lack of a better term.
That's a very insightful comment, Rob, because it was, the word tainted is probably too strong, but it was. All the drama with the label in the States, and there were personalities involved. I was my publisher at the time, the head of the publishing company in Canada, and the head of the label in New York, Atlantic. They didn't like each other. I mean, you probably are aware that sometimes the personalities have more to do with it than anything else. So there was,
but unfortunately, you're caught in the middle of this crap, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and the other layer here was, once Hit Me had happened, and a few other things that were on the rocky side that got cut. Special Girl wasn't that. It was more of a, it was a softer song.
Yes.
And the label wanted me to, they wanted me to be a rock guy, and there are rock songs on that record I did for them, but I thought Special Girl deserved the shot that it got in Canada.
Right.
Got recorded by America, got recorded by Meatloaf.
Yeah, which became the UK for Meatloaf, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. It did well. It did well there, absolutely. And so, I revisited on this record. I mean, the ironic thing was that, somewhere along the line, you listen to your old songs, and I went, God, it sounds so 80s now. It's very synth and drum machine. And I went, I think I'd like to revisit that and do like a more modern, sort of neutral piano vocal centered.
There you go.
Song. And so that's what's on Film School. And, and I think it worked out great. The funny thing is that people come to me and I go, yeah, I really wanted to do it because it was so 80s. And they go, yeah, but that's what I liked about it.
I think it's interesting that everything that's old is slowly becoming new again. We've seen trends like that before, but especially with older music, I'm noticing that there are kids that are like digging this up and kind of going, we really like this. And I don't want to say that as a diss against the music that's out in the 21st century, but I think there's more of an appreciation, I think, for the stuff in the 80s right now, at least now, for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right, and and again, that's look, I'll take it however it comes. And
Yeah, no, I hear you on that for sure.
it's great that people, are rediscovering those older songs and really enjoying them, and I think that's great. But I've also had, I have to say, I've had people say that the new version they find more poignant and more moving, and that and so I mean, it comes down. I mean, obviously, I'm a songwriter first and foremost, so to me, it always comes down to the song.
Mhm.
And you could do a good song, and as we know, have heard good songs done many different ways, and and each one of those ways can be just as good as the next one. So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and then there's the living example of like going, you've had two other artists record it and both have had success with it. So, as far as the songwriting is concerned, it's like going, hell, the proof's right there. The song's been a hit twice in two different countries by two different artists, include you. That's 3 for 3. I mean,
yeah,
I think it is an unfortunate thing that happened. Like I said, it was fascinating to read it. And by the way, if you follow him on Instagram, the story is up there and he lays it out. And it really is a fascinating thing to just look at the fact that you went all the way to court and fought this and really won the case, which I think is fantastic, because it's really, you were standing up for your art at that point, which is always admirable. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did. I'm not happy that it could have been different. And then you have this chance here to kind of go, all right, let me re-record this and let me kind of make peace with it, for lack of a better term, if that makes sense.
I think that's absolutely right. Look, I feel bad about it in the sense that there were people at the label I loved. They were
Yeah.
great people. They supported me.
Yeah.
They liked my music. And like I said, and this is true of many artists I work with, the politics between sometimes your label and your publisher, or your manager and your label, or those are factors too. The fact that we were able to win the case, and I think, as you probably know, the kind of punchline is that the week we were in court, the America version was in the top 10 AC charts.
Yeah, it was.
US,
I know, that's crazy.
So like they were arguing it wasn't commercial at the very moment when it was
Right.
in the top 10 in Billboard. America's version was in the top 10 Billboard. Hard argument to make, guys.
Yeah, you can't make that argument when it's on how many radio stations in the country and it's one of the top songs in that format. It's like, yeah, karma at that point was just more like going, thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, timing is everything in show business, and boy,
Sure. And that was,
how that worked out. But
uh,
yeah, look at going to suing your label, getting it, it's never a fun thing and never a good thing, but
no.
sometimes that's the world we live in.
It's true, but I think it's something that artists can learn something from this and say, hey, look, you write, you create, you should have a little bit of control as far as what you do. And I understand the game back then is a lot different than the game it is today, for lack of a better term, calling it the game, because there are other ways of kind of saying in 2025 where you can go, oh, you don't like it? I'll release it this way. I'll do this, this, and this. Maybe I don't make as much money, but I'm still going to make something out of it. And I can go out, do some shows, and still stand behind my artistic integrity, let's say.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's great. And you have that direct relationship with the audience. I mean, back in the day, there were a lot of gatekeepers between you and the people who are going to hear your music.
That is true.
And in some ways, I miss some of those gatekeepers because they kicked your butt. I'd walk in with songs and I go, I think I'm ready to record a record, and they'd go, no, I don't hear the first single, and you'd go, oh, really? So.
Yeah.
So they kicked your butt, and you went back, and sometimes you wrote a better song. I mean, it could work. It could work both ways, right?
Right. Double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly. So there was that, but the fact today, as you're saying, you have that direct relationship with your audience. That's fantastic too. Now it takes a lot of time.
Right.
Social media, people spend a lot of more time on social media than they do on their music sometimes.
Well, how do you feel about social media at this point? Do you feel comfortable with it as you're promoting this new album?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm a little more comfortable than I was. I mean, the thing is, I've always been behind the scenes, more or less. I mean, I have had my own records out, but a lot of my career, I've just been the guy, who writes the songs. Like you said, you didn't, most people don't know what I've written and what I haven't.
No, that's very, very true. Like I said, I mean, I knew Benatar, didn't realize about Paul Carrack. I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing to discover. But I can tell just from talking to you, you're very comfortable in that, where it's like, hey, you know what? This is what I do.
I'm losing you, Rob, a little bit, but I think I heard what you said.
Yeah, no, I was saying that you're more comfortable in this, just as I'm getting to know you. You're very comfortable being behind the scenes and just kind of go, yeah, this
Still
is
kind
what I
of
do.
broken up. I don't know if it's at my end or your end, but
Oh, that's a good question. Ming, just pay close attention. I'm breaking up on his end. I don't know if it's here or I'll keep talking, and hopefully I will come in a little clearer as I go along. This is Eddie Schwartz here on the A Game. I was just trying to explain to Eddie how I feel about being.
it's all garbled. So I mean, I could try to move, or we can wait a minute and see if it comes back.
I tell you what I can do, and this is what I'm going to do. So stay there. Ming, I have his single, one of the songs from his album. So why don't we fire this up? Hopefully in a few minutes we'll get this corrected. This is from the EP that is out today. The song is called "We Win." It is on the A Game. Check this out right now from Eddie Schwartz.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I've lost you, so sorry about that. Looks like I have.
Yeah, I get why you're down. We play it straight, they play the clown. Time to turn the whole damn thing around. It's come unwound. All those games on the bench, all those years in the trench, all those monkeys with a wrench that makes no sense. But if love counts for something, we win. Counts for something, darling, you gotta count us in. Yeah, we could sure use a whole lot of better in our lives. Love counts for something, we win. Does the fox outrun the hound? Do the lost get found? Will better days come around? Yeah, they'll come around. And if love counts for something, we win. Love counts for something, darling, you gotta count us in. Yeah, we could sure use a whole lot of better in our lives. Love counts for something.
Glad we got to show the website, edieschwartzmusic.com. So if you want to go get the music, you can go do it that way. Always, this is the radio in me that comes out when all of a sudden there's technical problems. Let's go to the song that's on the we'll throw it out there, and hopefully in a few minutes, and when you know, everything's back to normal. It's a wonderful thing. And by the way, yeah, exactly. Available through wherever you do purchase your downloads and stuff like that. Are you going to print some albums maybe, because National Record Store Day is always a big deal, and we're seeing more albums being sold now these days than ever before?
Am I going to put out a full album? Is that what
Yeah,
you're asking, Rob?
yeah,
I think so. I'm going to work towards it. I spent a lot of time on these songs, and
yeah.
I'm not churning them out. I did that for years here in Nashville when I first, for I don't know what, probably 5, 6, 7 years. I was, 2 songs a day. Like the Nashville deal is, you write from 10 till 1, then you have lunch, and then you work from 2 to 5, and you 2 songs every day. So
Two
that's
songs.
10 songs a week. I'm not good enough at math to figure out how many that is, a year, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
And uh, I got the Rascal Flatts cut through that, and some other good cuts. But it really, there are guys who are great at it, and I don't think I was one of them. So I like to take my time, work on the lyrics, try to make it, as real and as just something that is really important, and that's something I want to say.
Right.
So it takes me a while. But I'm working on it, and I am enjoying a lot of the things that you were talking about, having that direct relationship with people, and hearing directly from them about the songs and how it impacts them, and there's a lot to be said for that. It's very gratifying, humbling sometimes, and but it's nice to be doing it again. For a number of years I couldn't write after I finished my Nashville stint. When I finally said okay, I was burnt out on it. I took about 5 years, and I just couldn't write. I tried.
Yeah.
So this EP of 6 songs is my return. We Win was the first song I was able to finish after those years of looking at a blank page and not being able to put much in it there that was of value. So it's just this is my first step, is to get these 6 songs out and get back in the game.
Welcome back, my friend. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Eddie Schwartz is here in the A Game. Every guest gets the random shot stream, and this is where I take questions by stalking a little bit of the social media, also learning a little bit about Eddie's life, knowing that it is part Toronto, part Nashville. I think this may actually play into both. I got a few questions I'm going to throw at you for fun. So I'm going to start with this. It actually takes into consideration Hit Me With Your Best Shot, the song that you wrote for it with Pat Benatar, because over the years, there have been some interesting cover versions of it that have come out. We had the cast of Glee recorded. We have had Catherine Zeta-Jones recorded for Rock of Ages. Eddie Murphy even recorded for Shrek. Out of all the versions outside of you and Pat, I mean, has any of these covers gotten your attention? You go, you know what? That was a pretty good interpretation of the song.
Well, I mean, to get Eddie Murphy to sing, one of your songs, as a donkey, by the way.
As a donkey, exactly. Yes. Never in a million years you're thinking, "Oh, that's going to happen." Sure, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Never. That was never one I anticipated. Right. I'm just honored by all of these various versions. But I have to say, since we're on the animal track here with donkeys, the Chipmunks did a version.
That's right.
So and I understand that the other 2 Chipmunks didn't want to do it, and Alvin insisted. So, so I special thanks to Alvin for pushing it.
Yeah, really. We thank you for that. Yeah, I mean that's wild to look at that and kind of go, wow, it's been involved in like 3 different movies and 1 television series, and it's one of those songs that, look, I know, and there are going to be rock formats throughout the country. They're always going to have that in the gold library, and at least once a day, it's going to pop up. I know where I work at WDHA in North Jersey, and on 95.9 The Rat on the Jersey Shore. Yeah, that song's going to pop up. It's just one of those songs that will, and on that level, do you sit back and go, wow, that song's going to outlive me? Holy shit.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you to radio. Thank you for, that's great. And radio's been so good to me over the years. So thank you guys for all of that. But it's, it's hard to get your head around any of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can understand that. Sure.
It's a bit of a challenge. And so the thing is, probably the less time you spend thinking about it, the better, because, look, I've heard that song in a cab. I got in a plane, gone to Paris for meetings. I'm involved with advocacy work on copyright. gone to Paris for a conference or something. You get in the cab and it's playing in the cab when at the airport.
Right.
Or I've been in Japan. I've heard it. Was at a resort, a hotel in near Mount Fuji. I heard the song. So it's pretty crazy. And it's like, what? I mean,
that's true. Yeah, and again, somebody like me is not going to think about it that way. So obviously, getting it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, to understand that it's like, yeah, if you were to take the time, actually, it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know what? We don't need the head to explode. Just kind of smile and just go, you know what? The ride's still going in a weird way. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what else can you do? And like I said, even 2 years after I wrote the song, it was like when I first heard the Pat's version on that walk up Yonge Street on a spring day. It was already 2 years in my past in some way,
Right.
I had done my job, and now it's what am I writing today? That's what's important to me.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense. It's like you can't look in the rearview mirror. Like, I'm glad it happened, but I want to look forward and I want to see what I can do now and in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More random shots with Eddie Schwartz. Ming, I believe it's photo bottom right, I think it is. Yeah. This is a distinctively Nashville thing when we talk about, what is that, Nashville hot chicken. I'm like, I don't know if you even like it, but is there a place around in your area we sit there and go, I'm going there to get the chicken?
Well, the original places, there's a lot of places now, and I'm sure many of them are good, but the original Bolton's, which is in East Nashville, yeah, you can't beat it, but you better be prepared, because what they call mild, you may need surgery afterwards.
Wow. See, that's the thing. As somebody who is planning in 2026 to go to Nashville for his first time, because a buddy of mine is going to be getting married that summer, I'm planning, like, it could be the first vacation I've taken in a while. So I'm going to spend a week between the wedding and going to Nashville, and I'm going, that's on my list of, like, I've got to try the Nashville hot chicken. I'm like, thank you for the warning.
I mean, it's when you ask, you say, I'll have it mild. I mean, there's just a guy who's pouring the spice on. So, if the phone rings, and he's like, he gets distracted for 5 seconds. You're mild, maybe very not mild.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it's great. It's great, but it's like, be prepared.
Okay. That's fair.
Prepared.
I appreciate that.
And it's wonderful. And it goes, it's got a long history here. And there's a lot of places, there's a lot of other places now that, like I said, that, and where it's not as hot as the original guys. So
good to know.
You can check those out too.
Will do. I'm definitely planning on it. Okay, I'm going to tie Toronto and Nashville together by asking this question. What would you consider, if you are a football fan, a bigger fan of the Tennessee Titans or the Toronto Argonauts?
Well, that's a really, now I've got to, be a traitor to one side or the other. That's a tough one.
All right. Admittedly, when you put it that way, I did ask an unfair question. How dare I? Jeez.
I got to say, it's the Titans probably. I mean, this is where I live.
Right. Of course.
And they're, I don't follow it as close. I have friends who are fanatics about it. I mean, it's a religion. It is a religion in this town and, in much of America. And I'm not quite that into it, but yeah, I think the Titans, I'll go with them. So,
right.
And my Canadian friends right now, I'll probably get banned at the border, but
I will say this for anybody who's watching in Canada on ESPN2 when they're running the CFL. I've become a big fan over the years, and I'm looking forward to the Grey Cup that is coming up this weekend, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I think for American fans, when we saw Doug Flutie play over there, we really got to discover the beauty of the game with the 12 players on the field, the wider field, and the nonstop. It just keeps going like this. There is no lull in Canadian football, and I think that's the beauty of it. It is such an offensive-minded game, but yet, when you have 12 players on the field, the defense does become important because at some point, you got to slow them down. I understand it's 37-36, but slow them down because you got to win the game.
Yeah, no, it's a faster game in Canada. It's a little bit. I don't know how it evolved, why the differences happened, but I don't know the history of it. But it is interesting that it changes things. The bigger field, they all have an impact.
Oh, absolutely. Side question, only because they were recently in the World Series. Was it something when you looked at the Blue Jays and go, okay, yeah, that right there, you just go, all right, fine. Even if I'm not a baseball fan, go Toronto.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I just got back from, I was actually at a conference in Johannesburg, South
South
Africa.
Africa. Wow.
So, and I didn't do this, but I had a couple of friends from Canada that were there with me, and they were waking up at whatever it was, 3 in the morning to watch the game.
The 18 inning game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And I remember when the Blue Jays actually won 2 years in a row back in the early 90s, I think it
Yeah,
was.
that was.
In fact, I was doing a project in 29 Palms, California with a guy named David Tyson. We were working on stuff at a little hotel there. We just got away and we're writing songs. And yeah, and we walked into, like, there was sort of a restaurant in the middle of this little resort where we were hanging out and writing songs, and the Blue Jays just won, and everybody looked at us like, yeah, and why would we care? It's like the fact that a Canadian team won the World Series was like, what?
It was an amazing thing, and to this day, I think many people would say one of the top 5 moments in any World Series, Joe Carter's home run that won the second World Series for them. It's still one of the highlights of any World Series. Just a great moment when you just kind of go, "Oh my God, he just won the World Series with that home run." That's wild.
Yeah. Well,
I do have at least one more question going back to music on Random Shots. As you know, in Canada, they have The Voice, which is a French Canadian version. There have been some rumors because of the success of Canada's Got Talent that maybe a Canadian version that with an Americanized view of The Voice could happen. I put it to you. Let's say they approach you about being a mentor. Would you do it?
wow. Boy, that's a hard question. I don't know. I don't know if I would. I mean, okay. I think I might decline. I hate to be a spoilsport, but I don't know if I would do it.
Just just a feeling of like, oh, there is a lot that goes with the job. I mean, from what I've read about it, it's like you are taking 13 or 14 young singers and trying to mold them. I would have thought that might have been in the producer mind of yours, kind of going, that could be an interesting thing to do.
Okay, you're starting to talk me into it.
Honestly, Eddie,
okay. All right, I'll do it. Okay.
If I am casting this show, I'm sitting there going, here are my 4 that I would put on the seats, because I go, I need one definitive Canadian superstar. I reach out to Alanis Morissette. I need somebody who has reality TV experience. I'll go to Carly Rae Jepsen. I will also go to the gentleman who became the lead singer of INXS at one point, Canada's own J.D. Fortune, and then bring you in. Yeah.
Well,
so,
okay, where do I sign?
I can talk you into it. Now I can just get CTV to take my idea, like, going, do this.
The thing is, like there are moments in the creative process where you don't want the camera to be rolling. You know what I mean? So,
okay. You see on that, if you're saying that's the reason, and knowing what you said before, you're more comfortable behind the scenes than in front of the camera, then I get it. I really do get it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's once you've got that camera, once it's being filmed and millions of people maybe are going to see it, it changes the process. So I think that's my hesitancy. But you made some really good points. So yeah, what the heck.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I stumbled upon reading because I was reading this article about the success of Canada's Got Talent. They're talking about doing a Canadian version of The Voice. And I'm like, going, wow, I'm about to interview Eddie. I'm like going, yeah, let's make that a Random Shots question. Have some fun with it.
Well, you're right. It would be an interesting challenge. And I guess you get used to having that camera there. You get over it and you just get on with the gig. So, all right.
All right. There you go. He's in. Oh, by the way, one more time, Film School is the name of the EP. Came out today. So wherever you get your streaming on your music, you can purchase the songs. You can purchase the full album and get to know Eddie a little bit more. We gave you a snippet of one of the songs with the lyric video. So hopefully it'll entice you to make a purchase. And Eddie, will there be maybe doing some small gigs in 2026?
Yeah, I'm going to try to, I have terrible stage fright, which goes with the theme of, behind the scenes.
Right.
I'm, I started, I was in bands for years and played every night and, all across Canada, touring with various acts. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to have to kind of ease into it, but I'm going to start doing it. I have musician friends here in town who will prop me up while I'm on the stage and, help me out. So yes, the answer is I'm going to start doing some gigs and see where that goes.
Yeah, I'll definitely check in with my contact and see if you wind up in my neck of the woods. Be good to meet you in person and get to see the music live for sure.
I'd love that, Rob. That'd be great.
Thank you so much for the time, and thank you very much. Even though this is not your forte, so to speak, you did fantastic. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me on the show. I
You
really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Hey, listen, I'll be back right after Thanksgiving. We'll take a couple weeks off and we'll be back, I believe, December 1st with the podcast. My YouTube channel, subscribe for free. Catch the other 129 episodes that have happened before this. For Eddie Schwartz, I'm Rob Back and Poor. Hey, take care of yourself. Enjoy. Happy holidays.